Most people wake up in the morning and immediately surrender their mind to the world. The alarm rings, the phone lights up, notifications begin flooding in, and before their feet even touch the floor, their thoughts already belong to other people. Messages, problems, expectations, stress. By the time breakfast comes, their mind is scattered in 10 different directions. But the Stoics believed the morning was the most dangerous and powerful moment of the entire day. Dangerous because the mind is vulnerable. Powerful because whoever controls the first hour of the day often controls the direction of the entire life. Marcus Aurelius used to remind himself every morning that he would meet difficult people, unfair situations, and unexpected problems. He didn't say this to become negative. He said it because preparation makes the mind calm instead of shocked. Most people walk into the day blindly, hoping things will go well. The Stoic walks into the day prepared for reality. And that single difference changes everything. One of the first things a Stoic trains themselves to do every morning is to reclaim control of their own mind before the world tries to take it. When you wake up, your mind is like fresh clay. It can be shaped by intention, or it can be shaped by outside noise. Most people allow their phone, social media, or news to shape it for them, but Stoics believed your thoughts should belong to you before they belong to anyone else. Even just a few quiet minutes where you sit with your own thoughts can set the tone for the entire day. Instead of reacting immediately to the world, you begin the day with awareness. You ask yourself simple questions. What kind of person will I be today? What kind of energy will I bring into my conversations? What kind of decisions will I make when challenges appear? When you start the day with intention instead of reaction, the day begins to unfold very differently. Another thing Stoics believed was essential in the morning was preparing the mind for the reality of human behavior. Marcus Aurelius famously reminded himself that during the day he would encounter people who are selfish, rude, jealous, arrogant, or dishonest. At first, this sounds pessimistic, but it is actually one of the most powerful psychological tools ever practiced. When you expect life to be perfect, the smallest problem can ruin your mood. But when you expect difficulties, your mind becomes steady when they arrive. Instead of being surprised by rude behavior, you are ready for it. Instead of becoming emotionally shaken by problems, you recognize them as part of life. The Stoics believed emotional stability comes from mental preparation. And this preparation begins in the quiet moments of the morning before the chaos of the world begins. Another powerful morning habit the Stoics practiced was reminding themselves that time is limited. This was not meant to make life feel depressing. It was meant to sharpen their focus. When you truly understand that your days are not endless, you stop wasting them on meaningless arguments, petty distractions, and empty drama. Many people move through their mornings half asleep, dragging themselves into the day as if it's just another routine cycle that will repeat forever. But the Stoics believed every morning was a gift that many people never receive. Somewhere in the world, someone went to sleep last night and never woke up. When you remember this simple truth, the morning becomes sacred. It becomes a moment where you realize you have been given another opportunity to improve your life, strengthen your character, and move closer to the person you want to become. Stoics also believed the morning should begin with discipline rather than comfort. The body and the mind are deeply connected. When the body is lazy, the mind often becomes weak. When the body is challenged, the mind becomes sharper and more resilient. This is why many Stoics practiced physical movement early in the day. It didn't need to be extreme training or long workouts. Even simple stretching, walking, or light exercise could wake up the body and sharpen the mind. The purpose wasn't to build muscles alone. The purpose was to remind yourself that you are capable of effort. When the day begins with effort instead of comfort, you build a quiet form of confidence. You prove to yourself, before the world even begins making demands, that you are capable of action. Another thing Stoics practiced every morning was deciding what truly matters that day. Most people spend their days reacting to whatever problem appears first. Emails, messages, sudden requests, unexpected distractions. By evening, they feel exhausted, yet strangely unfulfilled, because they spent the entire day handling other people's priorities instead of their own. Stoics believed clarity protects your time. When you wake up and ask yourself what truly deserves your energy today, you begin to separate what is important from what is simply urgent. Not everything demanding your attention deserves your attention. The Stoics believed the wise person learns to direct their energy toward meaningful actions instead of scattering it across endless distractions. The Stoics also practiced gratitude each morning, but not in the shallow way many people use the word today. Their gratitude was deeply practical. They reminded themselves of the simple things that could easily disappear. The ability to see, to move, to breathe, to think clearly, to speak with loved ones, to walk outside and feel the sun on their face. These things sound ordinary until they are gone. When you begin the day remembering the privileges you already have, your mindset changes dramatically. Instead of starting the day with frustration, you begin with appreciation. And appreciation is powerful because it protects the mind from unnecessary bitterness. Another morning practice the Stoics valued was visualizing the obstacles that might appear during the day, not to become anxious, but to become prepared. If you know traffic might be frustrating, you are less likely to lose your temper when it happens. If you know someone at work might challenge your patience, you are less likely to react emotionally when they do. By mentally rehearsing potential challenges, you train your mind to respond calmly instead of impulsively. This technique, often called premeditation of adversity, was one of the Stoics' greatest psychological advantages. It transformed surprises into expected events, and expected events rarely shake a prepared mind. Stoics also believed the morning should include a moment of reflection about personal character, not money, not status, not external success, but character. They believed the most important question each morning was simple. What kind of person will I choose to be today? Will I be patient or easily irritated? Honest or manipulative? Courageous or avoidant? The Stoics believed life constantly tests your character through small, everyday moments. The way you respond to a rude comment, a stressful situation, or an unexpected setback reveals who you truly are. By deciding your values before the day begins, you strengthen your ability to act according to them when challenges appear. Another powerful morning principle the Stoics practiced was separating what they could control from what they could not. This simple mental boundary protects enormous amounts of emotional energy. There will always be things outside your control, other people's opinions, unexpected events, economic changes, mistakes made by others. When people wake up and immediately start worrying about everything that could go wrong, they waste their mental strength before the day even begins. But when you clearly identify what is within your control, your attitude, your effort, your words, your decisions, you immediately feel calmer and more focused. The Stoics believed peace of mind comes from directing energy only toward what can actually be influenced. Finally, the Stoics believed every morning should begin with a quiet commitment to self-improvement, not perfection, but progress. Every day is another opportunity to strengthen patience, wisdom, discipline, and courage. Many people wake up hoping the world will become easier. The Stoics woke up preparing themselves to become stronger. That difference changes everything about how you face the day. Instead of waiting for life to cooperate, you build the inner strength needed to face whatever life brings. And when this mindset becomes a daily habit, something remarkable happens. Life may still bring challenges, but the person facing those challenges is no longer the same person they were yesterday. Another morning discipline the Stoics practiced was guarding their attention like it was one of their most valuable possessions. Most people believe their money is their greatest resource, but the Stoics understood something deeper. Attention is far more powerful than money. Wherever your attention goes, your life eventually follows. If your attention is constantly pulled toward gossip, negativity, outrage, and endless scrolling, your mind slowly becomes shaped by those things. This is why many Stoics believed the early hours of the morning should remain quiet and protected. Before allowing the noise of the world to enter your mind, you should decide what deserves your focus. If you give the first hour of your day to chaos, the rest of the day often feels chaotic. But if you protect that hour and fill it with clarity, reflection, or learning, your mind becomes much harder for outside forces to control. The Stoics also believed the morning was the best time to strengthen your relationship with discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many people think discipline means punishment or forcing yourself into suffering. But the Stoics saw discipline as freedom. When you control your habits stop controlling you. Think about how many people wake up already feeling defeated by the day ahead. They hit the snooze button over and over, rush out of bed, skip healthy routines, and start the day already behind. Over time, this creates a quiet sense of chaos in life. Stoics believed the morning was the perfect place to rebuild order. Even small acts of discipline, getting out of bed when you said you would, making your bed, taking a few minutes to breathe or reflect, begin to rebuild trust between you and yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you strengthen your character. Another powerful Stoic morning habit was mental rehearsal of your responsibilities. Instead of drifting blindly into the day, Stoics often took a few moments to think about the roles they would play that day. Maybe you will be a parent, a co-worker, a leader, a friend, or a problem solver. The Stoics believed every role carries a certain responsibility. If you know you will have an important conversation, you can prepare your mind to be calm and thoughtful. If you know you will face pressure at work, you can prepare yourself to respond with patience instead of frustration. This type of mental rehearsal trains the mind to act with intention instead of impulse. Many people regret things they say or do during stressful moments, not because they are bad people, but because they never prepared themselves for those moments. The Stoics believed preparation protects your character when pressure appears. The morning was also a time when Stoics reminded themselves that external success does not define their worth. In today's world, people often wake up already measuring themselves against others. Who has more money, more success, more recognition, more followers, more status? This comparison quietly drains peace of mind before the day even begins. The Stoics rejected this trap completely. They believed your value comes from your actions and character, not from public approval. A person who acts with honesty, courage, fairness, and discipline is successful in the only way that truly matters. When you remind yourself of this in the morning, you remove the pressure to constantly compete with others. Instead of chasing validation, you focus on becoming a better version of yourself. Another Stoic practice that many people overlook is the idea of starting the day slowly enough to actually observe your thoughts. Most people wake up and immediately begin moving at full speed. Their mind becomes filled with tasks, worries, responsibilities, and distractions before they have even fully woken up. But the Stoics believed awareness of your own thinking is one of the most powerful forms of self-control. When you sit quietly for even a few minutes and simply observe your thoughts, you begin to notice patterns. Maybe your mind tends to jump toward worry. Maybe it jumps toward anger, regret, or anxiety about the future. Once you see these patterns, you gain the ability to question them. You begin to realize that not every thought deserves to be believed. Some thoughts are simply habits of the mind. The Stoics believed wisdom begins the moment you stop automatically believing every thought that appears in your head. Another principle the Stoics carried into the morning was the commitment to act with kindness and fairness toward others, even when others fail to do the same. This idea may sound simple, but it requires enormous strength. It is easy to be kind when life is easy and people are pleasant. It is much harder when someone is rude, disrespectful, or difficult. Stoics believed that other people's behavior should not determine your character. Your character belongs to you. When someone behaves badly, that reflects their own state of mind, not yours. By reminding yourself of this each morning, you protect your ability to remain calm and fair, even when dealing with difficult people. The Stoics believed true strength is not found in dominating others, but in mastering your own reactions. The Stoics also practiced something that might surprise many people. They reminded themselves that mistakes will happen during the day. Many people wake up expecting themselves to be perfect. When they make a mistake or face a setback, they become frustrated, discouraged, or self-critical. But the Stoics had a more realistic perspective. They understood that learning and improvement require mistakes. Instead of expecting perfection, they focused on progress. By beginning the day with this mindset, they removed the fear of failure. When a mistake happened, they didn't collapse into frustration. They simply corrected their course and continued forward. This mindset allowed them to grow steadily, without becoming emotionally overwhelmed by small setbacks. Another morning reflection the Stoics practiced was remembering that reputation is outside your control. People will form opinions about you no matter what you do. Some will admire you, others will criticize you, and many will misunderstand you completely. If you spend your life trying to control everyone's opinion, you will live in constant anxiety. The Stoics believed the wiser path was much simpler. Focus on acting with integrity and let opinions fall where they may. By reminding yourself of this in the morning, you free yourself from the exhausting need to please everyone. You begin living according to your values instead of according to public approval. The Stoics also used the morning as a time to reconnect with purpose. Many people drift through life reacting to circumstances rather than choosing a direction. They wake up, go to work, handle problems, come home, sleep, and repeat the cycle again the next day. Years pass this way without much reflection. But the Stoics believed life should be lived intentionally. Each morning is an opportunity to remember what truly matters to you. Maybe your purpose involves helping others, building something meaningful, improving your skills, or becoming a stronger person mentally and emotionally. When you reconnect with that purpose each morning, the day becomes more than just a list of tasks. It becomes another step in a larger journey. The Stoics also believed the morning should include a moment of courage. Courage doesn't always mean facing something dramatic or dangerous. Often, it simply means facing something you have been avoiding. A difficult conversation, an important decision, a responsibility you have been delaying. Many people carry these avoided tasks in the back of their mind for weeks or months, allowing them to quietly drain mental energy every day. The Stoics believed that beginning the day with courage, even in small ways, removes this hidden weight. When you face what you have been avoiding, your mind becomes lighter and clearer. Finally, the Stoics understood something that many people overlook. The way you begin your morning slowly becomes the way you begin your life. Habits, repeated daily, shape identity. If your mornings are rushed, reactive, and chaotic, your life will often feel the same. But if your mornings contain reflection, discipline, clarity, and intention, those qualities slowly begin to shape who you are as a person. The Stoics never believed that one perfect morning would transform your life overnight. Instead, they believed something far more powerful. Small habits repeated consistently have the power to reshape an entire life over time. Another powerful thing the Stoics did in the morning was remind themselves that emotional reactions are a choice more often than people realize. Most people believe their emotions simply happen to them. Someone says something rude and anger appears instantly. Something goes wrong at work and frustration takes over. But Stoic thinkers like Epictetus believed the real problem was not the event itself, but the judgment we attach to it. In the quiet moments of the morning, Stoics trained themselves to remember this principle before the day even began. They reminded themselves that many things will happen today that are outside their control. but their interpretation of those events is still theirs to manage. By practicing this awareness early in the day, they strengthened their ability to pause before reacting. And that pause is incredibly powerful, because the moment between an event and your reaction is where your freedom actually lives. Another morning habit the Stoics valued was deliberately choosing calmness before entering the world. Think about how often people begin the day in a rush, running late, checking messages, responding to problems before they've even fully woken up. That frantic energy doesn't disappear once the day starts. It follows them into every conversation, every decision, and every challenge. Stoics believed calmness was something you could cultivate intentionally. When you slow down your breathing, clear your thoughts, and begin the day with steadiness, you create a foundation that protects you later when pressure rises. Life will still bring noise and chaos, but your mind will have already established its center before the storm arrives. Another Stoic principle practiced in the morning was reminding themselves that hardship is not an interruption of life. It is part of life. Many people wake up hoping the day will be easy, and when something difficult happens, they immediately feel like something has gone wrong. But the Stoics saw difficulty differently. They believed challenges were opportunities to practice virtue, patience, courage, discipline, and wisdom. By reminding themselves of this in the morning, they prepared their minds to see obstacles not as enemies, but as training. Just as muscles grow stronger through resistance, character grows stronger through difficulty. When you begin the day expecting growth instead of comfort, even the hardest moments begin to look different. The Stoics also believed that mornings were a time to reconnect with humility. Success, intelligence, and strength can easily turn into arrogance if a person forgets how fragile life really is. The Stoics regularly reminded themselves that fortune can change quickly, health can change, circumstances can change, positions of power can disappear overnight. This wasn't meant to create fear, it was meant to create perspective. When you remember that life can shift at any moment, you become less arrogant and more grounded. You treat people with more respect. You appreciate your opportunities more deeply. And you carry yourself with a quiet sense of humility that keeps your character balanced. Another Stoic morning practice involved strengthening patience before the day demanded it. Patience is one of the most difficult qualities to maintain in modern life. Everything around us moves fast. Messages, traffic, deadlines, expectations. People become impatient not because they are bad people, but because they never trained their minds to slow down. Stoics understood that patience is a skill that must be practiced intentionally. In the morning, they reminded themselves that delays, frustrations, and interruptions were inevitable. When these moments arrived later in the day, they were less likely to explode with anger because they had already accepted the possibility of inconvenience. At this point in the video, if this message is resonating with you, take a quick moment to support the channel, subscribe to PSYCHOVEST, and join a community of people who are learning to strengthen their minds, build discipline, and apply Stoic wisdom to real, everyday life. And if you've made it this far, comment the word discipline below. It lets me know that you're serious about mastering your mindset and becoming mentally stronger every single day. Another morning habit the Stoics practiced was choosing courage over comfort. Comfort is seductive. It whispers that things can wait until tomorrow, that the difficult task can be delayed, that the uncomfortable conversation can be avoided. But Stoics believed every day presents a small battlefield between comfort and growth. When you begin the morning reminding yourself that growth often requires discomfort, you become more willing to take action when opportunities appear. Courage does not always look dramatic. Often, it simply means doing the thing you know you should do, even when you don't feel like doing it. Stoics also use the morning to remind themselves that anger is rarely productive. Many people carry anger into their day before anything has even happened. Maybe they are still thinking about an argument from yesterday, a betrayal from years ago, or resentment towards someone who wronged them. The Stoics believed carrying this emotional weight into each new day only harms the person holding it. By reflecting in the morning, they trained themselves to release unnecessary anger and focus their energy on constructive actions instead. Anger might feel powerful in the moment, but wisdom and calmness usually produce better outcomes. Another important Stoic reflection in the morning was remembering that influence begins with example. Many people want to change the behavior of others, co-workers, family members, friends, or even society as a whole. But the Stoics believed influence rarely comes from forcing others to change. It comes from becoming an example of the values you believe in. When you carry patience, discipline, honesty, and calmness into the world consistently, people begin to notice. Your behavior becomes a quiet form of leadership. By reminding themselves of this each morning, Stoics focused on improving their own conduct rather than wasting energy trying to control others. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to strengthen resilience by remembering past challenges they had already survived. Everyone has faced difficult moments: loss, disappointment, failure, heartbreak, uncertainty. But the fact that you are here today means you made it through those storms. By reminding themselves of their past endurance, Stoics built confidence in their ability to handle whatever the new day might bring. The mind becomes stronger when it remembers its own history of survival. Finally, Stoics believed that each morning offered a quiet chance to begin again. Yesterday's mistakes do not have to control today's actions. Regret can be useful if it teaches a lesson, but it becomes destructive if it traps you in the past. The Stoics believed every new morning was an opportunity to reset your direction. You may not control everything that happens in life, but you always control the effort you bring into the present moment. And when a person approaches each morning with that mindset, they begin to live with far more strength, clarity, and purpose. Another thing the Stoics trained themselves to do each morning was to examine their relationship with control. One of the most powerful ideas in Stoic philosophy is incredibly simple. Some things are within your control, and many things are not. Yet most people spend the first part of their day worrying about things they cannot influence at all. They worry about other people's opinions, unpredictable events, or outcomes that have not even happened yet. The Stoics believed this habit drains mental strength before the day even begins. Instead, they used the morning to draw a clear mental line. They reminded themselves that their effort, their attitude, their words, and their choices belong to them. Everything else belongs to the world. This mindset is freeing because it removes unnecessary pressure. When you focus only on what you can actually influence, your mind becomes calmer and more effective. Another Stoic practice in the morning involved reminding themselves that discomfort is often a teacher. Modern life encourages people to avoid discomfort at all costs. We search for the easiest path, the fastest result, the most comfortable environment. But the Stoics believed that avoiding discomfort often prevents growth. Every skill, every achievement, and every form of personal development requires effort. By reminding themselves of this each morning, they reframed the idea of difficulty. Instead of seeing challenges as punishment, they saw them as training. If the day became difficult, it simply meant another opportunity to practice resilience, patience, and discipline. The Stoics also believed that mornings were the best time to remind yourself that you are responsible for the energy you bring into the world. Many people walk into their day already carrying frustration, negativity, or irritation from previous experiences. Without realizing it, they spread that energy into every interaction they have. A small conversation becomes tense. A minor problem becomes an argument. But the Stoics believed emotional responsibility begins with self-awareness. When you wake up and consciously decide to carry calmness, fairness, and patience into your interactions, you begin shaping the environment around you. Your attitude influences more people than you might realize. Another powerful Stoic reflection involved remembering that life is constantly changing. Many people suffer because they expect life to remain stable. They expect relationships to remain the same, opportunities to stay available forever, and circumstances to remain predictable. When change inevitably arrives, they feel shocked or even betrayed by reality. But the Stoics believed change is the natural rhythm of existence. Everything is temporary. Success, difficulty, youth, health, fortune, and struggle. By reminding themselves of this each morning, they became more adaptable. When change appeared, they were less likely to panic, because they already understood that life is always moving. The Stoics also believed that mornings were an opportunity to strengthen mental clarity by simplifying priorities. Many people overwhelm themselves by trying to do too many things at once. Their attention becomes scattered across dozens of tasks, goals, and responsibilities. The result is exhaustion without meaningful progress. Stoics believed wisdom often involves reducing complexity rather than adding more effort. When you begin the day by identifying the few things that truly matter, you protect your focus. Progress becomes more visible when energy is directed toward clear priorities instead of endless distractions. Another morning practice involved reminding themselves that every interaction with another person is an opportunity to practice virtue. Many people treat strangers and co-workers differently depending on their mood that day. If they feel stressed or irritated, they may become impatient or dismissive without even realizing it. The Stoics believed character should not depend on mood. By reminding themselves in the morning to act with fairness and respect toward everyone they encountered, they strengthened consistency in their behavior. Over time, this created a reputation for reliability and integrity. The Stoics also used the morning to remember that the day ahead will contain moments of uncertainty. Uncertainty is one of the things many people fear the most. The human mind naturally wants predictability and control. But the Stoics believed uncertainty was not something to fear. It was simply part of being alive. Instead of trying to eliminate uncertainty, they trained themselves to become comfortable with it. When you begin the day accepting that some things will unfold in unexpected ways, you reduce the anxiety that comes from trying to control every detail of life. Another principle the Stoics reflected on each morning was the importance of personal accountability. It is easy to blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck when things go wrong. But the Stoics believed growth begins the moment you take responsibility for your actions. This does not mean blaming yourself for everything that happens. Instead, it means asking a simple but powerful question. What part of this situation can I improve? When you carry this mindset into the day, problems become opportunities for self-improvement instead of excuses for frustration. The Stoics also reminded themselves each morning that peace of mind is something that must be protected intentionally. Many people allow small events to destroy their sense of peace. A rude comment, an unexpected delay, a mistake at work. These moments can quickly turn into emotional storms if the mind is unprepared. But Stoics believed peace of mind is a skill that grows through practice. By beginning the day with reflection and intention, they strengthened their ability to remain calm even when the world became chaotic. Another Stoic reflection involved recognizing the quiet power of consistency. Many people search for dramatic breakthroughs or sudden transformations. They believe one powerful moment will change everything in their lives. But the Stoics understood that real transformation usually happens through repeated small actions. A person who practices discipline, patience, and awareness every morning slowly becomes someone different over time. The changes may seem small in the beginning, but when repeated for months and years, they reshape an entire life. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to reconnect with gratitude for the present moment itself. Many people live with their minds constantly traveling somewhere else, thinking about past regrets or future worries. They miss the opportunity to experience the present moment fully. The Stoics believed life is happening right now, not yesterday and not tomorrow. By beginning the day with awareness of the present moment, they trained themselves to appreciate life more deeply instead of constantly chasing something beyond the present. Another morning reflection involved remembering that wisdom often means responding rather than reacting. Reaction is immediate and emotional. Response is thoughtful and intentional. When people react, they often regret their words or actions later. But when they pause long enough to respond carefully, their decisions become more aligned with their values. The Stoics believed the ability to pause before reacting was one of the greatest forms of inner strength. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to remind themselves that personal growth never truly ends. No matter how wise or experienced a person becomes, there is always something new to learn. By approaching each day with the mindset of a student rather than a master, they remained open to improvement. This humility allowed them to continue growing even after achieving success or recognition. And finally, the Stoics believed that every morning holds the potential to shape the direction of the entire day. The thoughts you think in the morning influence the actions you take. The actions you take influence the habits you build, and the habits you build eventually become the person you are. When you understand this chain of influence, the morning stops being just the start of another routine day. It becomes the foundation upon which the rest of your life is quietly being built. Another principle the Stoics carried into the morning was reminding themselves that complaining solves nothing. It may sound simple, but many people unknowingly spend the first part of their day complaining about the weather, about traffic, about work, about responsibilities they never wanted in the first place. Complaining gives the mind a temporary release, but it rarely improves the situation. The Stoics believed energy should be directed toward action rather than frustration. When you begin the day with the mindset that complaining will not change reality, you become more focused on what you can do. Instead of wasting mental strength resisting the day ahead, you begin moving forward through it. The Stoics also believed mornings were the perfect time to remind yourself that most problems appear larger in the mind than they are in reality. When people wake up thinking about everything that could go wrong during the day, their imagination often magnifies those fears. A difficult meeting becomes a disaster in the mind before it has even happened. A challenge at work becomes an overwhelming burden before the first step has even been taken. The Stoics trained themselves to shrink problems back down to their true size. They reminded themselves that many fears are simply predictions created by the mind. When the day actually unfolds, those imagined disasters rarely occur the way we feared. Another morning habit the Stoics practiced was reminding themselves to act with purpose instead of drifting through the day. Many people move through life on autopilot. They wake up, complete routines, handle responsibilities, and move from one task to another without much awareness of why they are doing these things. The Stoics believed awareness gives life meaning. When you consciously decide why you are working, why you are improving yourself, and why you are pursuing certain goals, your actions become more intentional. Even simple tasks feel more meaningful when they are connected to a purpose larger than the task itself. The Stoics also reflected each morning on the idea that self-respect is built through daily actions. Many people search for confidence as if it were something they could simply discover one day. But the Stoics believed confidence grows from keeping promises to yourself. When you say you will wake up early and you actually do it, your mind notices. When you say you will work toward a goal and you follow through, your mind notices again. These small acts of reliability slowly build self-respect. Over time, you begin to trust your own word, and that quiet trust becomes a powerful form of confidence. Another morning reflection the Stoics practiced was reminding themselves not to waste energy on unnecessary comparisons. In today's world, people constantly compare their lives to others. They compare success, wealth, recognition, relationships, and achievements. But comparison often leads to dissatisfaction rather than motivation. The Stoics believed the only comparison that truly matters is the comparison between who you were yesterday and who you are today. Are you slightly more disciplined, slightly more patient, slightly wiser in your decisions. That is the only progress that truly belongs to you. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to strengthen independence of thought. Many people unknowingly allow society to shape their values, opinions, and priorities without ever questioning them. They chase goals that were handed to them rather than goals they truly believe in. The Stoics believed wisdom requires examining the beliefs you live by. When you take a few moments in the morning to reflect on what truly matters to you, you begin building a life based on your own values rather than borrowed expectations. Another Stoic reflection involved remembering that your words carry weight. Conversations throughout the day shape relationships, influence decisions, and sometimes affect people more deeply than we realize. The Stoics believed careless words often cause unnecessary conflict. By reminding themselves in the morning to speak thoughtfully and honestly, they reduced the chances of harming others through impulsive speech. A calm mind tends to produce calmer conversations. The Stoics also believed mornings were an opportunity to remind yourself that happiness does not come from controlling life's outcomes. Many people spend their days chasing outcomes, hoping situations unfold exactly the way they planned. When those outcomes change, frustration appears immediately. But the Stoics believed peace comes from focusing on the effort you bring to situations rather than the results you receive. You cannot control how every situation ends, but you can control the integrity and effort you bring into it. Another morning reflection involved remembering that fear often fades when you take the first step. Many people carry fears about decisions they need to make or actions they need to take. But fear tends to grow when we sit still and think about it repeatedly. The Stoics believed action is often the fastest way to dissolve unnecessary fear. When you remind yourself of this in the morning, you become more willing to move forward rather than remaining stuck in hesitation. The Stoics also used the morning to reconnect with patience toward their own growth. Personal improvement is rarely a straight line. Some days you feel focused and disciplined. Other days you may feel distracted or unmotivated. Many people become discouraged when progress feels slow. But the Stoics believed growth is a long process that requires persistence. By reminding themselves each morning that improvement takes time, they avoided becoming frustrated by temporary setbacks. Another principle the Stoics reflected on was the importance of protecting their mental environment. Just as the body becomes healthier when it consumes nourishing food, the mind becomes healthier when it consumes nourishing ideas. The Stoics often spent part of their mornings reading, reflecting on philosophy, or engaging with ideas that strengthened their thinking. By feeding the mind with wisdom early in the day, they prepared themselves to handle the challenges that would appear later. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to remember that life is not something to postpone. Many people live with the idea that happiness or fulfillment will arrive someday in the future, after a promotion, after financial success, after certain goals are reached. But the Stoics believed life is already happening now. Waiting for some distant future moment to begin living fully often leads to regret. By reminding themselves of this each morning, they encouraged themselves to engage more deeply with the present day. Another reflection involved remembering that setbacks do not erase progress. Everyone experiences moments where plans fail or efforts do not produce the expected results. Many people interpret these setbacks as proof that they are moving in the wrong direction, but the Stoics believed setbacks are simply part of the learning process. Each obstacle contains information that can make the next attempt wiser and stronger. And finally, the Stoics believed mornings were a moment to remind themselves that the quality of their life would ultimately be shaped by the quality of their character. Wealth, recognition, and status may rise and fall throughout life, but character remains the one possession that cannot easily be taken away. By beginning each day with the intention to strengthen patience, honesty, discipline, and wisdom, they ensured that no matter what the world brought that day, they would still move forward as a stronger person. Another reflection the Stoics carried into the morning was reminding themselves that urgency is often an illusion created by the mind. Many people wake up already feeling rushed, as if the day is chasing them before it has even begun. Their thoughts jump immediately to deadlines, expectations, responsibilities, and problems waiting to be solved. But the Stoics believed that while tasks may require attention, panic rarely improves performance. When the mind feels rushed, mistakes increase and frustration rises. By beginning the day with a steady mindset, they reminded themselves that most situations can be handled one step at a time. Calm effort is almost always more effective than frantic urgency. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to strengthen emotional independence. Many people unknowingly allow their mood to be controlled by outside events. A compliment lifts their spirit, a criticism ruins their day, and a small inconvenience can shift their entire emotional state. But the Stoics believed this kind of dependence places your peace of mind in the hands of other people. Instead, they trained themselves to build inner stability. By reminding themselves in the morning that their worth and mood should not depend entirely on external events, they protected their emotional balance throughout the day. Another Stoic morning habit was reflecting on the importance of restraint. In daily life, there are countless moments where the mind urges us to react quickly, to argue back, to interrupt, to prove a point, or to win a disagreement. But the Stoics believed restraint often demonstrates greater strength than immediate reaction. When you pause before speaking or acting, you give wisdom time to guide your response. Many conflicts grow larger simply because people react too quickly. By reminding themselves each morning to practice restraint, the Stoics reduced unnecessary tension in their relationships and conversations. The Stoics also believed the morning was an opportunity to remind yourself that effort always matters more than perfection. Many people avoid starting important tasks because they feel unprepared or worried that their effort will not be flawless. But the Stoics believed progress belongs to those who act despite uncertainty. When you begin the day remembering that effort itself has value, you remove the pressure of needing everything to be perfect. The focus shifts from flawless performance to steady improvement. Another reflection the Stoics practiced involved remembering that wisdom grows from observation. Life constantly provides lessons, but those lessons often go unnoticed when the mind is distracted. By beginning the day with awareness, the Stoics prepared themselves to observe the world carefully. They paid attention to how people behaved, how situations unfolded, and how their own reactions influenced outcomes. Over time, this habit of observation sharpened their judgment and decision-making. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to remind themselves that pride can quietly interfere with growth. When a person believes they already know everything, they stop listening, stop learning, and stop improving. But the Stoics valued intellectual humility. By reminding themselves each morning that there is always something new to understand, they remained open to learning from others and from experience itself. This openness allowed them to continue growing long after many people had stopped questioning their own assumptions. Another Stoic morning reflection involved remembering that peace of mind often comes from simplifying expectations. Many people place enormous pressure on each day to be extraordinary. They expect everything to go smoothly, every plan to succeed, and every effort to produce immediate results. When reality fails to match those expectations, frustration appears quickly. The Stoics believed a wiser approach was to expect effort, not perfection. When you focus on doing your best rather than controlling every outcome, the day becomes far less stressful. The Stoics also used the morning to remind themselves that kindness is never wasted. In daily life, small acts of fairness, patience, or encouragement may seem insignificant, but the Stoics believed these actions quietly shape the world around you. A moment of patience can prevent an argument. A kind word can improve someone's entire day. A calm response can diffuse tension in a difficult situation. By reminding themselves of this in the morning, they strengthen their ability to act with generosity, even in challenging moments. Another reflection involved recognizing how quickly life moves. Many people live as if time is unlimited. They postpone meaningful actions, delay personal growth, and assume there will always be another opportunity later. But the Stoics constantly reminded themselves that time moves quietly and relentlessly. By reflecting on this in the morning, they encouraged themselves to act today rather than waiting for a perfect moment that may never arrive. The Stoics also believed mornings were a moment to reconnect with self-awareness. Throughout the day, emotions and distractions can easily pull the mind in many directions. But when you begin the day with reflection, you strengthen your ability to notice your own thoughts and reactions. This awareness acts like a guide throughout the day. When frustration appears, you notice it sooner. When impatience begins rising, you catch it before it grows stronger. Another Stoic reflection involved remembering that discipline in small areas of life often strengthens discipline in larger ones. Something as simple as waking up on time, organizing your space, or completing small responsibilities can influence your ability to handle larger challenges later in the day. The Stoics understood that character is built gradually through repeated actions. When small habits improve, larger decisions often become easier to manage. The Stoics also reminded themselves each morning that setbacks are not signs of failure, but part of the training process of life. Just as athletes expect physical resistance when building strength, the Stoics expected challenges when developing character. Every obstacle contains a lesson about patience, resilience, or wisdom. By beginning the day with this understanding, they reduced the emotional shock that often comes with difficulty. Another principle they reflected on was the idea that people often regret the things they did not attempt more than the things they tried and failed at. Many individuals spend years avoiding risks because they fear embarrassment, rejection, or failure. But the Stoics believed the greater danger was living with the regret of never trying. When you remind yourself of this in the morning, you become more willing to pursue opportunities that require courage. The Stoics also believed mornings were a time to strengthen clarity about what truly deserves your attention. Modern life constantly pulls the mind toward trivial distractions. News cycles, social media debates, minor conflicts, and endless entertainment can easily consume entire days without contributing anything meaningful. The Stoics trained themselves to recognize this trap. By reminding themselves in the morning to focus on meaningful actions rather than endless distractions, they protected their time and attention. And finally, the Stoics believed that the morning was the perfect moment to remember that life itself is a continuous practice. No one becomes wise overnight. No one masters patience, courage, and discipline instantly. But every single day offers another chance to practice these qualities. When you approach the morning with that mindset, the day becomes less about perfection and more about training your character one decision at a time. The Stoics understood something that many people only realize much later in life. The way you begin your mornings quietly shapes the direction of your entire life. Each morning is not just the start of another routine day. It is the moment where your mind is most open, most influenceable, and most capable of setting the tone for everything that follows. If the morning begins with distraction, frustration, and reaction, the day often continues in the same direction. But if the morning begins with reflection, discipline, awareness, and intention, something powerful begins to change. You stop drifting through life and start guiding it. What makes these Stoic principles so powerful is not that they require perfection. The Stoics never expected themselves to get everything right every single day. They understood that some mornings would feel easier than others. Some days your patience might slip, your focus might weaken, or your discipline might feel tested. But the real strength comes from returning to these principles again and again. Each morning becomes another opportunity to strengthen your character just a little more than yesterday. Over time, those small improvements compound. The person you become after months or years of practicing this mindset is often almost unrecognizable compared to who you were before. When you begin each day with preparation instead of panic, clarity instead of chaos, and discipline instead of distraction, the world stops controlling your mindset. You begin controlling it. Challenges will still appear, difficult people will still exist, and life will still bring moments of uncertainty. But the difference is that you face those moments with a trained mind rather than an unprepared one. The Stoics believed that real strength is not found in avoiding difficulty, but in developing the inner stability to face whatever comes with calmness and wisdom. And if you think about it, the real power of these ideas is not just philosophical, it's practical. Anyone can start applying them tomorrow morning. You don't need special tools, expensive programs, or perfect circumstances. All it takes is the decision to become more intentional about how you begin the day. A few quiet moments of reflection, a reminder of your values, a commitment to discipline and clarity before the noise of the world begins. These small habits may seem simple, but over time, they reshape the way you think, act, and respond to life. If this message resonated with you, take a moment right now to support the channel. Subscribe to PSYCHOVEST for more videos that break down powerful Stoic ideas and turn them into practical tools you can apply in everyday life. And if you're serious about building mental strength, comment the word Stoic below. It lets me know that you're committed to strengthening your mindset and becoming someone who faces life with discipline, clarity, and purpose. And finally, if you know someone who could benefit from starting their mornings with a stronger mindset, share this video with them. Sometimes a single idea at the right moment can change the direction of a person's life. Because at the end of the day, your life is not shaped only by the big decisions you make once in a while. It is shaped by the small decisions you repeat every single morning.